Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another political episode. So we are back again today, and we're specifically going to be talking about the future of the Democratic Party and the future of politics in the United States altogether. Because a lot of people, including Red Eagle Politics, is saying Republicans have not only a mandate to govern, but they have a mandate to govern for a very long time. We have already explained a couple days ago that the Senate will indeed be Republican in 2026, and the Democrats, they will not be able to turn the House and the Senate against Trump. That is not possible. The House is very likely at this point, seeing how much seats have been lost. I think it was a mere miracle how Republicans won the said House of Representatives without those seats being flipped. And then you look at Donald Trump. He's the man to get the credit for that. Obviously, he's the man to be given credit for having those seats, those House seats, remain Republican and helping boost more turnout. But that didn't mean Republicans didn't lose any said seats. And that's why Republicans need to challenge districting in Alabama and Louisiana. For some reason, Alabama and Louisiana the Democrats in those said states were given free seats. And that's absolutely not okay. They were saying, the gerrymandering, blah, 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 blah. You guys are gerrymandering. We need to give the African American people more. But they think of representation by race, and honestly, we're like, no, because honestly, the people of Alabama and Louisiana elected Republicans, and they're not cheating on African American groups because we don't divide people up by race. The Democrats, they divide people up by race. And when you're in charge, obviously, of this state, you get to make the rules. And Democrats forcing their way to give Democrats an extra district in Louisiana and Alabama, that really made things tight in the House of Representatives. So honestly, I'm saying Republicans, they have the House right now, they have the Senate, they need to challenge this. And if the liberals boo-hoo, whine, and cry about it, then let them boo-hoo, whine, and cry about it. The liberals are crying more than ever because of Donald Trump coming back. It can't get any worse than that. So challenge it. I mean, they cried much louder when we suddenly said no more Roe v. Wade, no more diversity, equity, inclusion, or in other words, affirmative action in universities. We are used to this. Just go ahead and say no more. No more of this race districting in Louisiana. No more of this race districting in Alabama. We expect people in Louisiana, the state and the government in Louisiana, which are controlled by Democrats, to create these silly, weird boundaries. Like the recent results, you'll see this silly result. We think, we're not whining and crying about the silly borders that were created, like this border right here. Look at this, all the way here, or this border right over here, and really, this is all rural. But what Democrats did was they had influence of St. Louis right here. They took the metro of St. Louis, stretched it all the way through Springfield, all the way to the influence over here. And because of the St. Louis, that's why they're getting so much Democrats here. And take this area right here. Area, I don't know if it's this college areas, but this is realistically liberal. You got a little counties over here, crazy little results. And now Republicans aren't whining and crying about this because this is Democrat controlled state. But now suddenly the Democrats in Alabama, which keep in mind, no representation in that state for Democrats, they forced us to create this silly little weird border. Same deal with Louisiana. For some stupid reason, we decided to change the border in Louisiana. And they all have to say it's race and victimhood. It's not. Look at this. They forced this used to be a red district. Nope. They decided to take the African American vote, which is popular over here, and try to make the African American voters. And they're using African American votes. They're taking them for granted, and that's honestly not okay. But they won't whine and cry about that. It's just remarkably interesting. Mike Johnson's district is almost cut in half if you look at that. But we're not talking about the House of Representatives. I'm basically saying, hey, we can lock the Democrats out of power if we challenge the result in Louisiana and Alabama. These are red states. These are our states, and we cannot let Democrats dictate them. Period. So, yeah, this is the current map right now. Swing states, 97 votes. They are the votes that will decide the next election in 2028. What it looks like right now, Arizona is not going to be a battleground state. It's gone pretty aggressively for Republicans. But we look at Nevada, it's amazing. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to talk about who is being the main leaders of 2028. Now, J.D. Vance is ahead in the game. He's won 2 polls by a lot. There is no real other option other than J.D. Vance. If this was true right now, J.D. Vance would probably carry every state handingly. Look at the Democratic primary, though. Kamala Harris is winning handingly. Every single poll. And this is a disaster because the establishment Democrats are saying no. No, you cannot come back again. Look at what you've done. She imploded the whole party. And then she left the party imploding while she got drunk in Hawaii. This obviously exposes how responsible of a president you are. And I'll tell you guys, I want Kamala Harris to run. We need Kamala Harris to run because Kamala Harris has exposed herself to be as worse as Joe Biden. Kamala Harris got a lot, even Joe Rogan, who is a moderate, not a conservative. Joe Rogan used to be a Bernie Sanders supporter. This guy was the far left of leftists. Well, I wouldn't say he's a classical liberal, but he comes off as left-wing when he comes out and vocally supports Bernie Sanders, because you know who Bernie Sanders is. But even Rogan has got red-pilled by this woman. So much that Rogan, taking in so many different audiences, publicly endorsed and backed Trump. Even had Trump on his show. He said, "Hey, Kamala, come on the show." No, you had Trump on that show. I'm not going on that show, and that's Kamala Harris to blame. She's honestly not a smart candidate. She would rather get drunk on wine in Hawaii than go on the world's biggest podcast, where honestly she can reach out to these Gen Z men and actually talk sense. But do you think she would? No, because she absolutely can't give an answer for anything. She can rely on the media to hype her up. But then again, if Kamala Harris runs, it's not a guaranteed win for the Republican. It really does depend on how Trump does. If this moderate, diverse collusion of ideology succeeds, you could be looking at 2028 being a red year. But what you usually see, this is supposed to, let's just call it Republican as of right now, because we don't really have a nominee. I don't know why I put Trump down. But what we have right now, we don't really know, because history has proven a historical, as the country is becoming more, I would say, partisan, maybe more partisan. There's more of an equal divide in this said country. List of presidents of the United States. You'll see in the last couple presidents have been Democrats and Republicans. There hasn't been a huge trend like in the 20th century. We had 2 presidents. Well, it was not really a pattern, but now we got a pattern here. The president-elect Donald Trump, not a surprise, is a Republican. Beforehand was, of course, Joe Biden. So starting off with 1988, we elected a Republican. Bill Clinton, we gave him 2 years. George H.W. Bush, a Republican, we gave him 2 years. A Democrat, Barack Obama, we gave him 2 years. Now we go up to 1 year. Starting with 2016. Donald Trump, give him 1 year. Joe Biden, give him 1 year. And then Donald Trump again, a Republican, give him 1 year. So it looks like it's going to go back and forth. And if you are paying attention, you would guess that Democrats would take the governor's mansion. And because it's not the governor's mansion. Democrats would take the White House again in 2028 because of the pattern, because of partisan politics. The country is divided. And what we are seeing right now, the Democrats, let's see, I've made that case where the knob, usually it turns the other direction, right? Let's take a look in order to prove that point. These are the closest states, 0.9%. How far of a swing, really, Wisconsin? What's a swing that Wisconsin? How much did Wisconsin swing by? Wisconsin swung. There's no margin swing, really? You don't have a margin swing? You gotta be kidding me. But it swung maybe 2 points, 1 point. It was 0.7 to 0.9. So if you're doing math, I would say 1 point and 1.10. So you would say, ideally, Democrats would carry their own states here, Minnesota, New Hampshire. They would win Wisconsin. But it doesn't have to be in that order. 2024 has proved that, hey, you know what? Michigan was more left in 2020. It was more right compared to Wisconsin by just a little bit. Obviously, the needle could... And the good news is 0.9. It's not much, but it's less than 1%. All Democrats have to do in 2028 is to gain 0.9% more than they did in Wisconsin in 2024. That is somewhat kind of easy. Wisconsin would be their kind of best state, but it really does depend on the 4 years, like I said. Then comes Michigan. Then comes, of course, Pennsylvania, 1.7. It's possible. And then win Georgia, and you win the election. You can even see Democrats possibly win Nevada and then North Carolina. It can look like this, absolutely. And the idea that out of the sudden, the Republicans have totally locked themselves in for control, it's kind of BS. It's not necessarily true. And I don't want these people to fool you because, we haven't got through the 4 years yet. I would think, things can happen. It absolutely can happen. That's why I'm so convinced I will support J.D. Vance for president in 2028. Absolutely. The party seems to be rallied around J.D. Vance. If Kamala Harris gets into power in 2028, becomes a Democratic nominee, do not assume that it's going to be another red wave. I'm not saying she's going to win, but you could possibly see her gain a state that she didn't win in 2024. Because you got to remember, usually the results turn against the current party. Okay? The election results turn against the current party in power. It's been the case for a very long time. I mean, 1984 was probably the last time that was not the case. But 2020, it turned the American people favored Democrats in 2020. The American people in 2016, it trended more right in 2016 for Donald Trump. Despite Obama winning in 2012, the American people trended more right. The country trended more right. 47.2 for Mitt Romney. You can make the same argument this time with Bush in power. The American people overwhelmingly sided with Barack Obama. Go to 2004. Yeah, another weird one because technically Bush's best performance. It actually trended more right. I do want to mention, they'll make an argument because it's because of the war, the Afghanistan war, the Iraq war. And it was originally supposed to be a Kerry win. The polls were indicating, it would be a possible Kerry win. But honestly, sometimes it can be pretty unprecedented. But it could look like this, possible, not counting North Carolina. But that's why Republicans, that's why we need to build up, because we made 4 states really, solid Republican strongholds. Iowa, Ohio, Florida, and Texas. 93 electoral votes. Strong Republican. These are states that have been totally, at some point, called swing states. Ohio, Iowa, and Florida were carried by Obama. They're now reliably Republican. Texas is, it's not as, it's been put into play in 2020. You could possibly call this a battleground state. It's now solid Republican. Improve your margins in these 4 states. But why can't we make Florida? Why can't Georgia be in that same sphere? A lot of people say, oh, it's just because of the African-American votes in Atlanta. Atlanta, too far left. Well, that could be the case, but, we can make improvements. North Carolina, make a big argument with North Carolina, because North Carolina and Georgia, they are the same ideologically. North Carolina, however, their African-American vote doesn't come out as fast as it does in Georgia. That's why we had North Carolina voting for Trump in 2020. The African-American vote was not as strong, even though, Mecklenburg County, Charlotte, big African-American city, but not as big as Atlanta and its surrounding suburbs. So, obviously, I would say, focus in on North Carolina. Then you get better yet, midterms. Improve your rights in North Carolina. And I know what you guys are thinking. Oh, North Carolina went landslide for Democrats in the governor's, for Josh Stein in the governor's race. Oh, yeah, I get it. Absolutely. How can they go for Republican? Well, here's the thing. I'm not a fan of Tom Tillis. I don't know how you pronounce his name, Tom Tillis, but I'll say go with him. I don't know. He's a weak candidate. I admit it, but that's why we need to focus on North Carolina in the midterms. It's still a swing state, but we can make it a red state. The reason why Florida got so red, retirees. The old folks and freedom fighters of the country fled to Florida because, of course, one man, Ron DeSantis, turned it into a red state. Now, I do wish that Mark Robinson got in, but they destroyed Mark Robinson. The Democrats are just bent in to keep their power. And ideally, I would love to see... So, honestly, let's go ahead and see the current map. This is the current average, okay, in case you haven't caught on. I would go ahead and give Nebraska 2 to Democrats. But this is the current map, guys. Whoops, Illinois. Even Wisconsin, Michigan still. This is the blue wall still exists. Because if the blue wall didn't exist, then we would have Tammy Baldwin out. We would have had Alyssa Slotkin easily out. We managed to succeed in Pennsylvania, but still, of those midterm elections, Pennsylvania is unpredictable, and I'm not ready yet to call it a red state. I am absolutely not ready to call it yet. But the trends are good. The trends are absolutely great there. But right now, the current average is Democrats winning by 276 if you count the 2nd district. This is the current average, okay? But it never used to be this way, obviously. Let's take a look at the average in 2000, okay? The average saw in 2000, it mostly was like, I shouldn't say, no. Nevada was supposed to be red. So 276 votes, obviously. So what the average looks like in 2000, you had Virginia being a red state. You had, let's see, Iowa, of course, was a blue state. So it was a little lopsided. You had those more urban populated, even the 2nd district was blue. The Nebraska 2nd district also was. So you got a tie, ideally. I'm not ready to call Nevada yet a red state in 2000, seeing that it voted for Clinton twice. But, Colorado. Can't forget about Colorado. So it was something like this. It's a little weird. Actually, no, we'll go ahead and give Nevada. I keep going back and forth because Nevada did, sure, it voted for Clinton twice, but it did vote for Bush. It voted for Reagan. It voted for Reagan twice, actually. It even voted against Jimmy Carter twice. So it was a red state without just voting for Clinton just twice in the 90s. But this was the average in 2000 for how each state voted. Now, Republicans start gaining. Did they gain much? I'm not necessarily sure. Let's just jump to 2008. You'll start to see Colorado, Nevada. Actually, no, not Nevada yet. because really they just voted for Obama one time, and not to mention these states. It was sort of looked like this a little bit. 2012 is when things do change. Nevada, Colorado, Ohio, even Florida, Virginia, they were counted as blue states in 2012 because Ohio, Florida, they voted for Obama by twice, and not to mention it wasn't close. Florida and Ohio went to Obama by, I would not a landslide, but by 2 points. You would think it would be if it was a very close swing state, it would have been like very tight, like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, but it went by Obama by 2. But yes, this is what 2012 looks like, and then lo and behold, things start changing around. In 2016, Trump, the average goes with Ohio and Florida going to Trump. It still looks like this, and in 2020, we take back Iowa, having voted for Trump twice. We can officially say that Iowa is now a red state. And yeah, sure, that Nevada goes to Trump, Wisconsin goes to Trump, Michigan goes to Trump, Pennsylvania goes to Trump, Arizona goes to Trump, all in 2024, but nothing's really changed yet. Nevada has made a huge trend to the right. Taking a look at the results in that said election. Let's see here. Looking at that results. Okay, so Nevada, 3.1. That is technically more conservative than New Hampshire is liberal. And not to mention, it's more conservative than Georgia. Georgia, we've called for so long a red state. However, the African-American population, it's decisively turning Georgia more into a moderate state. When and the African-American vote didn't come wildly out for Kamala Harris, this was the best that Republicans have done when it came to the African-American vote. But Georgia was still within below 5 points. So it was still intensely very tight in that said state. And of course, looking at that said state, yeah, I would say Nevada making a huge trend. Should I add it? Made a trend 5 points to the right. 5 points. Because this state voted for Obama by 2. Obama by 2. And in 2022, it made Republicans made some significant gains, and the Senate race was extremely tight. Gubernatorial race was extremely tight. I'm looking for the state of Nevada. And I think over in the future, 2028, I think Nevada will vote. My opinion, it will probably vote Republican. It will probably go for J.D. Vance. If that trend continues, where Nevada is mainly concerned, 3.1, that's the margin. The swing is not there yet. But if that trend exists, where Nevada is mainly concerned about the economy, immigration, huge impactable issues that made Nevada a red state in 2024, then I would call Nevada a Republican flip, and it would actually look like this. Very tight. Democrats still have the average of 270, but who knows? Maybe Pennsylvania. A lot of people are saying Pennsylvania is definitely going Republican, and it's true, because Pennsylvania is also been to the Democrats by 2 points. 1.9, I want to believe. 1.2, never mind. It was 1.2 for Biden. It shifted now like 1.7. But it wasn't a huge flip. But if we somehow keep Monroe County, Bucks County, we keep these counties, we retake these Republican establishment, these Republican ancestral areas, then I say Republicans have a good chance in keeping Pennsylvania red. But I want to continue to keep us all weary about the fact that, it's not over, because we see the pattern, we see the trend. We're entering a period of partisan politics, and what if this is correct? Then Democrats will take back the White House. How can they take the White House back with this? Well, it's 4 years away. You see the Republican Party, what it was like in 2021, it was horrible. people weren't sure. I remember people saying if Republicans weren't going to win an election ever again. And look at what happened right now. Biggest win of the century. So, yeah, it really, a lot happens in 4 years. A lot does. And part of it is the midterms. The midterms, which Republicans cannot ignore. They have to crack down hard on it. They have to do good in that midterm season. They have to perform well. So, in other words, is the map locked in for Republicans? No, I don't think it is. Red Eagle Politics is saying a different message. Maybe I'm not understanding it all well, but what I'm seeing with the registration, he's looking at registration, which is great. But you got to remember that Trump's not even in office yet. The people are jumping into the registration column, and usually when you take office, you start to lose popularity. And I'm not saying Trump's going to get really popular, because I think he'll get a lot of credit for trying to end the Ukraine war, the Israel-Hamas war. I think he's going to get lots of credit for that. His popularity will boom. But what happened with Obama? When Obama took office, people didn't fall in love with him more. People hated him. Although the media in the liberal cities were cheering his name constantly, you had results like the Obamacare backlash, the Tea Party, the red waves of 2010 and 2014. They vocalized Obama's presidency. Republicans turned out and voted. Americans turned out to vote for the Republicans instead of giving Obama a decent mandate to govern. They totally filled his chambers up with opponents. Same deal with Bush. People were like, Bush, until 9/11 came. Everyone loved Bush. And then we found Bush's skeletons about the Iraq war and the recession and the housing stock, the stock market crashing. Then everything falls apart. So keep in mind that, keep in mind, do not get your hopes up. It's great Republicans are surging in registration in Pennsylvania, Nevada, etc., etc., etc. It's great. But we, of course, like Red Eagle Politics has clearly stated, it's too early. It's too early to get excited, ramped up. Now, if it's looking like this in 2028 during the primaries, I would get really excited. But I would keep in mind about pattern, because Democrats, things were looking perfect all the way through in 2016. They were confident Clinton was going to win. Did she win? No. Trump won, because Americans decided to continue the pattern of going off and on, voting Republican and Democrat every 8 to 4 years. So what do you guys think in regards to our video? Let me know down below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.